On roll call, Mr. Cassidy,
Here.
Mr. Podak,
Here.
and myself, all members are present. I've provided with you, and it was also emailed to you, a copy of the Finance Committee minutes from September 17th. I would ask for a motion to approve.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Podak made
Yes.
motion, Mr. Cassidy second. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Minutes are passed. Okay, first we'll deal with open issues. Finance Director.
I just wanted to follow up. I apologize, I was not at the last council meeting. I know council was presented with a new position within the city, a project manager. And part of the cost of that project manager, we will generate some savings out of our contractual services because we currently have to outsource all of that activity. And so some of that activity will be able to come back in. In 2023, we spent a little over $400,000 on those types of services. In 2024, through 8 months, we've spent over $230,000. So how much of that can we save? That's hard to say, but I would not, realistically, once this person's up and running, I would not be surprised if it's 50% of that number. Because again, everything we do along those lines has to go outsource. And there's a lot of that. I don't think we'll struggle keeping this person busy at all. I think we'll have to really consider where's the biggest bang for the buck in terms of what projects to work on and what they can facilitate. I know we've got large projects coming down the pike, especially on the water sewer side of things. I mean, that's the harsh reality we're going to live in for the next probably 10 years, easy. So having somebody here on staff to help manage those projects, keep those projects moving forward, and doing some of the engineering work per se, again, I think it will pay for itself.
I'm glad you mentioned those water projects because that was something that had come to my mind. We all know how important it is that we put our water fund gets in a more desirable position in order to get out of fiscal emergency. So when we do those purchase services on those water projects, those charges for those engineering services are currently being charged to the water fund?
To whatever fund, yeah,
Okay.
that's benefiting. So
Okay.
yes, that would
So-
be. And so when this person would come aboard, we would initially put their salary in the general fund and then allocate it back out to the various funds depending on the number of projects and the number of hours spent on projects outside of the general fund.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, it sounds as though that there could be savings there that could improve that fund's position, which is what we're all aiming for.
Yes, and if it's not direct savings, I think the other side of that is it takes the grant money we receive and makes it go further in terms of what we can accomplish with those grant dollars. Same with the OWDA loans and those matching grants. What it does is it makes those dollars go further and we're not spending so much upfront on that design and project side of things. We can actually put it into the project itself.
I think if you look at the big picture, as far as the entire city of Fostoria goes, it's really a good move. There will be cost savings, but it will free up personnel to better manage the city. It's got to be a nightmare trying to keep track of all these projects going on and keeping control of it and directing the services of this community. I mean, I don't know how he's done it, but.
Agreed. I'm just getting my feet wet learning about it through the budget process. And I got to tell you, I'm almost overwhelmed in the budget process, trying to get my arms around everything that's going on. And did we account for it? Do we have it budgeted? Thank God for those guys. I don't manage those projects.
I think when you look at the big picture, Fostoria in general really benefits from this move. And I'll be the first one to admit the first time I read that, I thought, what the heck is going on? And I sat down and reflected. I thought, man, this is really a good move. This is really going to move us up to the next level. So,
I see it as you're in the middle of a project. Things happen, things change. The way we're set up now, we don't have anyone on staff with the credentials to go out there and say, here's what we need to do. We'll make this change. We can do it tomorrow. We're at the mercy of outside people to make those kind of decisions. There's only so much you can do, Eric, correct?
Well, if you don't mind my joining the discussion, the rest of the other part of this is we're not only getting more and more, we're getting bigger and bigger grant projects. And so, and we can get even bigger ones because some of the state and federal grants require us to have our own LPA, so a licensed project administrator, and we need to have that. For instance, the Safe Routes to School project. Had we had this person on board when we got into that, then we would have been able to administer that grant. But now we're working with ODOT. They'll bring an LPA in who will manage the project from beginning to end. But some state and federal grants require that you have an LPA on board, especially some of the highway ones. And so the potential of taking our city dollars and getting state dollars to leverage federal dollars is there if we have the LPA on board. So it'll be huge for us just to manage projects from beginning to end, because they're bigger. They're getting the federal ones are more complicated, as Steve can tell you, with everything that goes into those. And so yeah, it's a really big move for us.
I'd just like to add a little bit of caution. I agree absolutely with everything that's been said, but I think the savings will be greater in years 2, 3, and 4 after this person gets through the learning curve and really understands what we're doing and where we're going. I also want to caution that this will not eliminate all of our outside consulting engineers, because you have some very specific ones, especially in areas like the project we're doing at Reservoir 4, some of our sewer projects, the airport projects. You won't find an engineer that can do everything over all of those kinds of projects, and they take expertise and specialization. So especially with FAA, you have to use firms that are very familiar with FAA and all their regulations and requirements. So it won't eliminate everything, but it will eliminate a lot of what we are currently spending.
Thank you.
Well, and we're still handcuffed, beholding to the current firm on projects that they've started, correct? They're not going to pass those off
Correct.
to a person that we hire.
No, that's correct. And
So that's where the year 2 and 3 and down the road's going to be.
correct. Correct. And it'll take people, it'll take time to bring people on board and get them familiar with everything too.
You know.
Yep. Doesn't happen overnight.
No, everything's different. It's a learning curve.
Any other open issues?
That was the only open issue.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, anything open? Mr. Mayor, did you have any open items?
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
No. Okay. And Safety Service Director?
No open
No?
issues. Thank you.
Okay, we might have covered all of yours on that one topic. So moving on to new business, Finance Director.
I did pass out September's reports for the month of, year to date. And what you have is first our bank balances at the end of the month. We had $21.3 million in the bank. And now it's the sum, and you see it's in multiple different accounts with multiple different banks. You'll see our Red Tree investment is the U.S. Bank. It's the very last one on that first sheet of $7.5 million. Of that $21 million, if you go to the next report, that's the bank accounts. The funds and how we actually account for these dollars are in separate funds. A majority of those 21 million is in our general fund, 12.8 million actually. It's important to note, though, of the 21 million, we've already issued POs for roughly 3.5 million, which is on the last page of the second report. And so it says 21 million in the bank today, but I can tell you that we're going to spend at least 3.5 million of that because we've already committed to other vendors, projects, purchases. Not included in that 3.5 million is the remainder of the salary and wages for the remainder of the year. So I don't want you to think we're sitting on $21 million and fat, dumb, and happy. A lot of that is being committed as we go. The third report is our year-to-date revenues. I'm happy to report that after being flat and actually down a little bit, the income tax revenues have actually grown 1.5% compared to the prior year. It was interesting this month. I received an email. We're part of a organization, a financial accountants or financial officers association, and one of the financial officers from a smaller community was asking if their RETA receipts were down because theirs are down significantly and wanted to know how we were doing. And prior to September, I would have told him we're kind of like you, we're flat to down, but we're actually up now through September 1.5%. The other thing to note on page 1 of that revenue report, all the way near the bottom, you'll see 708,000 in interest earnings. We generated $210,000 more in interest so far year to date. That represents over 50% of our general fund increase. So that's not something that when we do our budgeting and we look at how we're going to forecast out, we're not forecasting growth on our interest income. Actually, when we sit down and actually do the interest income, we'll forecast a decrease because rates are coming down. So that 708,000 is nice addition to the general fund, but it's nothing that we can really bank on and commit to and put programming in place to use because it will fluctuate and it's going to fluctuate down. The last report, I'm still working through the business reporting system that we installed earlier this year, trying to really figure out what kind of reports to get, how to generate them. This report puts it at a very high level. You see it's by fund, our general fund, what we've spent on capital outlays. It starts with what was our total budget for the year, how much have we spent through 9 months, how much did we spend through 2023 in 9 months, and in 2022. I did add the percent of the budget that we've spent. Anything over 75% is a cause for concern. Some areas I'm not concerned about. For example, I don't know if debt service shows up, I believe. Yeah, it shows up in our enterprise funds, and we're at 100% on debt service because we've made both our payments. Our capital outlays are trailing, but we have a lot of large projects that are in the works. So you'll see some of that close up, and then you'll see some of those projects actually carry over into next year. So
those percentages could lag through the year, and then
yeah,
we're going to start off with some hits to them next year.
Yep. And we'll carry those, and any project that's not complete, we carry over into the appropriations for next year. So those dollars will still carry forward with us. They don't go away, and we don't let them go away and allocate them to something else. That's the bigger key.
And the thing of debt service, say in the water department itself being at 100%, are there more payments to make yet this year?
No,
Service
no,
to debt.
no.
So
no.
we're
We make a payment in January and one in July. So those are good to go.
I don't know if you're looking for feedback on this report.
Please.
I feel that this is broken down adequately. It kind of stems back to the conversation we were having before the meeting began and how when you have too much data, you can lose sight of the message. I don't know how the rest of the committee feels. I feel that this is an appropriate breakdown. if you're looking for feedback.
I appreciate that because I can tell you if I were to, so we're going through the budget process now. There are, I want to say, almost 30 different funds. And the general fund's the largest in terms of line items. There's probably 150 to 200 line items within the general fund.
Yeah.
So when I start to run those reports and try to generate those reports, you're looking at a 40-page report. And it,
Yeah.
So you've got them.
what I try to do is put it into categories that make
Yes.
sense that,
If you're looking for an attaboy, you got one, because I think it is easy enough to read and follow through. It's just a few things like, is there any more debt payments? No, we paid them. And the same thing when you look at, in the general fund with salaries and wages, or any expense that we have through September, we really shouldn't be much over 75%.
Yep.
If in case we are. So those are very helpful.
and we will be back to you. So salary and wages should actually be under 70% or around 70%. Reason for that is we know in December by contract, that's an opportunity for people to buy back sick time, buy back vacation. So in December, we have a fairly significant payroll because of those special pays that people can request as part of our contracts. So we'll be back to you in December to adjust salary and wages as well as benefits. If you remember, our benefits, we budgeted a 15% increase. It came in at 25, but that came in after the budget was approved. So we're going to come back either in the second November meeting or the first December meeting and ask for additional appropriations in those line items.
Now, I noticed that in stormwater,
Mm-hmm.
that we're over budget in contractual services. Is that going to be related to a grant maybe that we pay and then we apply for the grant funds afterwards?
I will have to look to see what that is. That's a great question. Right now, so that would be a compliance issue if I were to close the books today like that. So you'll either see me asking for legislation to approve a additional appropriation there, or I actually have a reimbursement coming, or there's something going on there.
Right.
But good catch. I did not see that there.
Okay.
I was glad to see that the utilities in most departments have leveled out. I think we were running way
Well,
ahead for a while.
so
First
some
cost.
utilities are going down. Our telephone utility, that utility will go down. Our electric, we come off of a great 3-year contract on our electric rates, and I think it ends in May of next year. Uh, And the remainder, we signed a new contract, put it out, talked to the largest suppliers, and we're actually going to go up 22% on our next contract. I mean, it was just a killer contract that we had at the time. And so I've built that in. The only reason I can tell you all that is because I just built the budget out on the electric. And overall, electric's going up 20% next year. So phone's going down.
Any other new business?
Nope.
You? Okay. Mr. Mayor, new business? Safety Service Director? No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. At this time, we'll open the floor to the public for comments related to finance.
Deb Tyson, 800 Woodward Avenue, Lot 9. And I've been doing some research, and I have found that a lot of people don't know what the Finance Committee does. And I know you guys do a good job because I'm here all the time and I hear it. And I know it's on YouTube. So I've been looking and seeing what the missing thing is. So I don't know if there's a way that we can better do that, but that's all I had to say.
Anyone else from the community? Okay, if that's the case, then I'll announce that our next meeting would be November 19th, 2024 at 5:30 in council chambers, and I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. 5:50.